Hi, I just wanted to make a quick video kind of talking about the Keyforge campaign and my thoughts and where we're going next with this channel and sort of how it all went. So I'd never done anything like this before. So, you know, it's been a big learning curve for me, not just the learning how to manage a solo role-playing campaign and the rules and sort of the procedures for that, but also, you know, making and editing the videos. So there's been a lot of learning on my part, and there's still more to go, and things that I want to keep improving and keep changing. So, but overall, I'm really pleased with how it all ended up. I really love the Mythic system. Really drives, because of its lists of NPCs and its lists of threads and the ways that those interact with the random event system. It really drives connections and sort of pushes everything towards, or at least that's what I felt, pushes things towards an eventual outcome, which was really interesting and exciting. So I really liked that. I think one of the things that I struggled with was the Genesys system. This book is great as like the source book is really great. It's got a lot of great information, but the Genesys rules themselves, so I've got like these printouts of like the combat summary and stuff. These are all from Drainsmith. They're really great and really well organized, but you know, it's a lot. Even as someone who has been a dungeon master for D&D 5e, it was a lot, and I didn't feel like I knew the Genesys system well enough to kind of lean into it. So by the end, I was really abstracting things. I was really just sort of kind of coming up with my own systems to simplify and make forward. Which isn't to say that Genesys isn't a fine system. I think it, for my purposes and my interests, which are very narrative focused, I'm really more interested in the narrative above everything else. There's just too much crunch. You know, there's all these abilities and there's all these feats, which or whatever they call them, the upgrades, the talents, which I never used, you know, and the character progression didn't really matter, just because that's not my interest. Now, if you were running a campaign with a group, maybe, and you were really interested in that kind of style of play, Genesys, I think, can meet your needs. And the narrative dice are really interesting. I really wish I had been able to get physical narrative dice rather than the app. The app is fine, but you know, it was just one other thing to keep track of, another device, and there's already a lot going on. But when I looked, you just can't get them anywhere. With the changes that have been going on at Asmodee and Fantasy Flight, I think Genesys, I'm not really sure what the future is, if there's anybody who's going to be supporting it. So that was fine. And then the narrative dice themselves, I think, you know, there's like a mechanical crunch to them that I didn't really lean into in terms of like mechanical ways to use advantages and threats. And I just sort of leaned into kind of more of a narrative interpretation, which, you know, is fine, but it leads into a lot of like, yes, but, you know, no, but situations. And then, you know, having to kind of come up with the dice pool every time, kind of having to make an assessment of like, well, how many difficulty dice am I going to put in here? And it always felt really kind of arbitrary to me, you know, and that also goes back into kind of the way I was playing, but, you know, it didn't quite satisfy what I was looking. It was more complicated than what I needed in terms of what I was doing. I could have just very easily rolled all of that into just the Mythic system anyway. I don't know if I would have even need this. So, Well, I think I will probably come back and do a Keyforge campaign again in the future with Fabum, or maybe with some other characters, or, you know, whatever, we'll see. I don't think I'm going to use the Genesys system. I think I will probably either adapt some other rules light system or come up with my own, using the source book for material for sure in terms of the world, and, you know, keep the tables that I had to be able to generate things from the world. But the resolution system with the narrative dice and all the other extra XP and damage and all of that stuff, replace that with a different system from a different game, or adapt something on my own. So, you know, and a little bit of that is my fault, because I got Mythic, and then I had my custom tables, and then I had Genesys, and I had, you know, the stuff on my computer, you know, in terms of like PDF documents. And so there's just stuff in a lot of different areas, and that made it complicated. And now I sort of know, in terms of my preferences, you know, sort of maybe simplify things for next time. So just a couple little things in terms of what's going next. I have plans to run campaigns in a number of different systems for this year. And so I'm going to go ahead and announce that next up, I'm going to be running a campaign in Troika, which is a really bizarro, nutty science fantasy system. It is very rules light, so I'm looking forward to that. And then it's also very leans into the narrative, but there's not a lot of kind of world building material. The rules suggest that you take the sort of the hints and hooks that are given by the character descriptions and the other things, and sort of fill out the rest on your own. So I'm really looking forward to using this as an inspiration point to develop our own version of what the Troika world is. So really looking forward to this, and I'll be, you know, in my next video we'll start that up and get that going. So, and then just like a little tiny bookkeeping thing. I know in some of my videos in this series, I introduced myself as Simon Finchley. That is a pen name that I use. But I've been thinking a lot about the way I'm presenting myself on the internet. And I think for this and going forward, I'm going to be using my real name. So I am Royce Rosewood going forward. And so if you see me introduce myself in a different way on the future videos, that's why there's been that change. So great. So thank you so much for coming along, and I'm looking forward to jumping into Troika and continuing our adventures in a different world. So I hope you stick around for that. And if not, stay subscribed, because I am going to be getting back to Keyforge. Hopefully, I don't know when I'll be doing that, but if you just want the Keyforge stuff, I will get back there, but it may take a while because there's a bunch of other systems I want to try. So stick around, and hope you enjoyed the campaign. Thanks.